Miracles of Today, Chapter 1, Episode of the Horse. Accept nothing that is unreasonable. Discard nothing as unreasonable without proper examination. Buddha. Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always. But because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. St. John 11:41-42. The very next day after my contact with the dawn of glory, I was debating with myself about the possibility of the things I had heard from my beloved teacher. My mind, doubting Thomas, saying, "No, it isn't possible," while my heart sang the refrain over and over and over again. Mine eyes have seen the coming of the glory of the law. The processes which one goes through during this mental debate with the love and desire in your heart for the white light are many and varied. I had been instructed to silence the doubts and accept the power of the God Presence, the I Am, if I expected to get results. Therefore, I proceeded to do just that. The argument in my mind was terrific. Yet I heard myself say, "All right, why don't you try it out for yourself?" And I replied, "Okay, I will." It was a typical Midwestern winter day. Snow had fallen continuously since the night before, and a record fall had tied up city traffic. 63rd Street was minus its usual streetcars. They were stalled or had been called in. Snowplows had been put into action, yet traffic was almost unable to move, so heavy was the fall, and the snow was still falling. What added to the confusion was the wind, which whipped up the hard flakes and seemed to hurl them with demoniac force into our faces. I huddled back into a doorway to wait, not knowing that the streetcars had stopped running more than an hour before. Across the street a horse was neighing and pawing the pavement, or rather the ice, which had been formed by the encrusted snow upon the pavement. My attention was called to the gusts of wind that repeatedly swept with even greater force on that side of the street, and hurled a gusto of hard, biting flecks into the teeth of the patient animal, who, while he complainingly neighed and pawed, yet remained loyal to his post, a milk wagon hitched behind him. I don't pretend to recall the exact words which made up the vigorous debate which took place between my mind and my heart, yet I do recall the statement of Jesus the Christ, "Whatsoever ye ask in my name, believing, that shall ye receive." So I began to reason with Jesus, saying, as though he were visible to my outer senses, "Jesus, my friend said that you would do anything I ask, so I want proof. Turn that horse about so that he faces the other way. Don't you see how unfairly the animal has been treated? How the wind and snow cut into him? Turn him around, I say. Let's see one of those miracles." Well, nothing happened. My reason said, "See, it didn't work." But my heart reasoned differently, and I felt a pang of remorse at having talked as I did. I began again. "Forgive me for being so cocky, but you know how it is. The whole world wants to believe in their hearts, but their heads get in the way." So I went to the other extreme and pleaded, begged, almost sobbed. "Please, Jesus, I'm sorry for that horse. Please turn him around, won't you? Please." Still nothing happened, and the argument which took place in my mind was like the bombardment of modern armies during a battle. 10 shells going overhead to the enemy's placements, 10 coming back, 100 going over, 100 coming back, 1,000 over, 1,000 back, bullets and cries and curses rising to a pitch and crescendo that ended abruptly when I commanded aloud, "Peace, be still." My Tower of Babel collapsed, and my pride miserably wounded, my vanity punctured. I noticed a man who had stepped into the same doorway with me, looking at me, searchingly, curiously, then hastily departed. I had not been aware of another person in the doorway at all. When he had stepped into that temporary haven, I had not known, but he left no doubt by his looks as he left that he thought I was crazy. Well, I reviewed again what my teacher had said. There are rules, and they must be followed. If you don't apply them correctly, you get only half results or none at all, according to your application. Once again, I remembered Your Word is Your Wand by Florence Scovel Shinn. So I began again. God, thy mighty presence of life, release thy love and thy light. Cause that horse to be relieved from the vicious and cutting wind and snow. Turn him around. I know and thank thee that thou hearest me always. And now, O Holy Father, release whatever power is required to relieve this creature from somebody's carelessness. I counted 10 and looked. Still nothing had happened. I was thoroughly disgusted, yet within me I felt there was somewhere in my application something I had failed to do, something I had left undone. In my disgust, I said to myself, all right, doggone it. I'll turn that horse around myself, even if I get punched in the nose for it. At that instant, the driver of the horse and wagon seemed to burst from the cafe across the street as though the doors of the place would be hurled into the street. He seemed to jump, yes, to sail into the wagon, took the reins, then recalling the check weight that restrained the horse, bounded out again, released the weight, took the horse's strap and led him gently round the corner and covered him with a blanket. Then he returned to the cafe and finished his dinner. It was interesting to note that the horse was now facing south instead of east into the face of the storm, and on the protected side of the street. Immediately I thanked God, and yet I wondered why the decree had not worked sooner. Later, on relating the incident to my beloved teacher, he reminded me that until I had released the feeling coincident with the declaration that I would do it myself, it could not have had immediate completion. Remember that your prayer, affirmation, or decree must have love or feeling or energy released to complete the action. I am still grateful for my first great miracle under my new instructor. Clothe the decree with your positive feelings, and God never fails.